Hey guys, welcome to day 2 of our journey through the Easter story. Yesterday we learned everything that happened in Easter week on Maundy Thursday, and today, since it is Good Friday, we are going to learn the part of the story on Good Friday. Obviously, we're not going to do it out here when we have access to the Story Worm's burrow, so we are going to go back on our journey into Scotch Jeremy's home for the next part of the story. So I hope you guys are all snuggled up toasty warm in your own storyworm burrows, ready for the second part of the story. So without further ado, let's go on a magical journey into the burrow of the worm. Here we go, guys. Up the stairs to the burrow of Scotch Jeremy. Here we are, and we'll make our way into his wormy home and get ourselves all settled in, ready for the story. Hello guys, welcome. We are settled in now in Scotch Jeremy's burrow, ready for day 2 of the Easter story. Now hopefully you guys remember where we left it yesterday. We had been with Jesus as he had a special meal with his friends, and he taught them some really important lessons about loving each other and serving each other. Then we travelled with him to a garden where he was praying, and he was praying like he was having a really horrible time, getting ready to do what he needed to do. And then we saw him be taken away and arrested, but he didn't want his people to fight. He was really calm, and he didn't want anyone to get hurt during it, and he stopped Peter from fighting. And then we saw Peter denying that he knew Jesus 3 times because he was afraid. So yesterday, loads happened, and some of it was pretty sad, but that was only the first part of the story. Just like when we were thinking about with Joseph, sometimes the story starts badly, but it gets much better towards the end. So we'll see what happens in today's part of the story. But I cannot tell you the story on my own. I'm going to need my storytelling accomplice. So, Jez? Jeremy? Are you around? Aye, here I am. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to tell the next part of the story. Oh, well that's good, Jeremy. I thought you might have been out getting the exercise for the day. Oh no, I am staying home and saving lives and protecting the NHS and all the other amazing people who are hard at work, even with everything that is going on. Well, that is very responsible, Jeremy, and I'm sure we're all staying home and doing our bit to save lives. Oh, of course, all the children from Kingdom Kids are total heroes, and they'll be saving plenty of lives by following the rules. Very true, Scotch Jeremy, very true. Now, Jez, are you ready for the second part of the story today? Oh, aye, I've been practising it all night so that I'm perfect for the children today. Brilliant. Well, I'll hand over to you then, Jeremy. It sounds like you are ready to go. Okay. Well, children, for the second part of the story, we are going to be pretending to be Peter again. So, get your imaginations ready to think, what would Peter be saying and feeling and tasting and touching throughout the story? And use your imagination really well so that we can go deep into the story. Without further ado, here we go. Now, it was the next day, and Jesus was in the palace of the governor Pontius Pilate. Jesus was dressed in a purple robe. A crown of thorns was embedded in his head. Blood seeped from his back through his robe. Soldiers surrounded him. They spit on him and they punched him. They cawed and jeered. "Hail to the King of the Jews!" they mocked. He staggered under their blows and winced as they spit in his face. His arms hung at his side and his shoulders drooped. Jesus stood near Pilate, who was seated on a platform facing a vast crowd of people, most of them Jews who had been bribed by the Jewish leaders. Some in the crowd were weeping, but many more were shouting in fury, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" The governor stood up. He seemed troubled. "He has done nothing to deserve death," he said. But the crowd screamed all the louder, "Crucify him!" "Shall I crucify your king?" cried Pilate. "We have no king but Caesar," they shouted. "But what crime has he committed?" "Crucify him! Crucify him!"
Pilate slumped into his chair and said in a weak voice, "I am innocent of this man's blood." "His blood will be on our heads and on our children's heads," screamed the Jewish leaders among the crowd, and the cry of "Crucify him" grew in pitch and became a chant, and Jesus was led away. He was whipped with leather lashes, and those who across his back and his chest and his shoulders, and those flogging him seemed possessed. They lashed at Jesus in uncontrollable fury, and when he came out of the city, he was covered in blood. The memory of his words, "My blood is shed for you," cut through me like a sword. Across Jesus' shoulders, tied to his outspread arms, lay a heavy wooden beam, the transept of a cross, and he staggered under his weight. Many times he fell, and the crowd hooted and jeered. No one helped him when he fell, and sometimes it seemed like hours before he could get to his feet again. He came like this to a hill called Golgotha, the place of the skull. Here he fell and could not rise. Now the soldiers threw him onto the upright of the cross and drove long spikes through his wrists and ankles into the hard wood. Then they lifted the cross and dropped it into place. Over Jesus' head was an inscription that Pilate had ordered, carved, "This is Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." And on that day, on that hill, evil was a living, crawling thing. It writhed through the crowd like a snake. People screamed insults at the bloody figure on the cross. "Save yourself! Come down from the cross!" The soldiers cast lots on the ground, gambling for Jesus' robe, which lay in the dirt. At midday, suddenly the sky became dark as the night. The looks of wild hatred froze on the faces of those nearest the cross. No one moved. No one spoke. I only heard my heart beating. The darkness hung over the whole land for 3 hours, and then Jesus cried out in a choked voice, my God, why have you abandoned me?" His breath came in shallow gasps. I could hear him talking faintly. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Then his head slumped forward, and he was dead. Then the earth came alive. The ground shuddered under our feet. The shudder became a rumble, and the rumble became a roar. All the earth shook as if in fury. The crowd scattered in every direction, and from within the heart of the temple came a shrieking, rending sound. The massive curtain leading to the Holy of Holies was ripped like paper from top to bottom. That is the story of Good Friday. Gosh, Jeremy, it doesn't feel like a very Good Friday. That's a really, really sad part of the story. Oh, aye. It is maybe the saddest story ever, but also the goodest story ever. How's it the goodest story? Nothing good happened. Well, Jesus did a very good deed. He took all that pain and suffering for us, so that we wouldn't be punished for the bad things we do, because he had already been punished for us. I suppose that is really very good of him. I don't know if I could do something that brave and that difficult for someone else. Oh well, maybe. And sometimes just doing small good things for other people is a really great way to say thank you to Jesus for the good thing he did for us. I suppose that's true. Still, it's really important for us to remember the really hard things that Jesus went through, because they make us appreciate how much he loves us, that he was willing to do that. Oh, aye. And did you know the part at the end about the curtain tearing in the temple is a really important part of the story? Is it, Jez? That seemed like a small extra detail to me. Oh no. You know, the curtain in the temple was a sign that people could not go near to God. It split God apart from his people because the people were not clean or good enough to go through the curtain. But When Jesus took the punishment, the curtain was torn because everyone had been made clean, washed clean by his blood, and could see God again. You know, that is pretty amazing. That God gave this huge big sign about what Jesus had done and about how we could come and see him again because of Jesus. Oh, aye. Now, maybe today you can remember the things Jesus went through for you. And it might be a bit sad, but sometimes we need to think about the sad things to appreciate the good things. That's very true. And there are good things yet to come. This is a really important part of the story, but tomorrow we'll see the next bit. You mean this isn't the end, Jeremy? How can anything else happen? Jesus is dead. Oh, aye, he's dead for now. But come back tomorrow and we'll see what happens next. All right. Thanks, Jeremy. I will definitely be doing that. Hopefully I will see some of you guys here tomorrow. Okay, have a really good rest of your day and we'll see you on Easter Saturday. Bye. Bye.